Alright. Oh dear, I was just trying to get a video out. It's 11 o'clock, my tea's gone cold, I'm tired, I got a slight headache, so bear with me on this one. Um, just a quick, I'm trying to try and make this video as short as possible, so obviously I'm not going to be able to delve into everything. I'm just going to skim over, okay, and then I don't know, maybe if somebody's interested in something that I talk about here, please drop me a comment and just say, can you expand on this or that, or just Dan, just shut up, because it's complete waffle. But anyway, the politics thing. I thought I'd better talk about politics, seeing as it's all politics at the minute in the consciousness. I should have done this video before the voting time, before the election, but I just don't have time. Anyway, this might upset a few people, but I'll just blurt it right out now. If you voted, you are not free. If you voted, and this might upset some people now. If you voted, you're voting for that thing that is controlling you. You are voting for the thing that wants to take control of you. You are voting for, dare I say it, the Antichrist. There you go. Now I'm going to really have some people shouting at me. And we're all, I don't have the opportunity to vote because I'm not a US citizen. I am a legal alien, and quite frankly, none of that matters to me now. Anyway, I'm a man on the land. It's got nothing to do with fictional BS anymore. Damn it, those guys can't tell me what to do. Yeah, I'm a free man, blah blah blah. All joking aside though, yeah, I don't vote, so I that's a get out of jail free card, really, not having that opportunity. I say opportunity, it's not really an opportunity, but the where I'm going with this is that if you are willing to vote for that fictional control, you'll never be free. Let's just look at the ridiculousness of voting, because we'll talk about voter fraud here in a minute. What you're doing, and I'll tell you what, most of the people that I speak to, well, I say everybody that I ever speak to always has a problem with the government. They always don't. There's something that the government's doing that they don't like. Yet everybody goes out. The first thing they do is they go out and they vote for it. Does it make any logical sense? Does that make any sense at all? No, it doesn't make any sense to go out and vote for the very thing that gives you grief. But people do it. It's a great scam, If anything, the fiction is so good at tricking people. It just is. But that's in its nature, That's what it does. It does the exact opposite thing as to what nature does. Nature just lays it all out on the table for you. If you look out the window, it's all right there. It explains everything. There's a set of rules there to follow. There's how the universe works, how God works. It's all outside the window there. Just go look at it, It's just being able to see it, But the fictional system does exactly the opposite thing. You can't see it. It wants to trick you all the time. It doesn't lay everything out clear and plain and simple. It's all convoluted, Nature gives you everything you need for free, All you have to do is just follow along with the rules. And you give back. You don't have to give back, because just by simply following along with nature, you are giving back without realizing it, that sort of thing. No, the system doesn't want that, though. the fictional system wants you. It wants your energy. You know, it wants to take your energy. You know, what nature does is it takes your energy, but it doesn't take your energy, if you know what I mean. It's just a natural balancing act. Whereas what the fictional system does is it just takes and takes and takes. It wants to take everything from you. You know, there's nothing really to be fearful of in nature, if you understand how it works. Yeah, let's forget about the bear coming out of the woods thing. There's nothing really to be scared of. You know, I mean, look in the mirror, people. We are the top of the food chain. You know, so there's nothing to be scared of with nature. Oh, lightning and you know. But the fictional system, there's nothing to be scared of either. But the fact of the matter is, it wants you to be scared. It wants you to be fearful of things. So that's how, you know, and that's really what it's all about. Control. You know, it doesn't want you to be free. The ultimate control is being within its belly, being back in the womb of the fictional system. So, boy, and then I was just going to try and I got to keep this video short. Anyway, so needless to say, anybody voting, you know, it's just, you know, I don't want to be flippant about it, and I don't want to be disrespectful to people, but you're in cloud cuckoo land, you know, if you're voting. And I'm not trying to disrespect people when I say that, but it is slightly insane if you just take a step back and look at what you're doing, you know, with with just some logical thoughts. You're basically voting for something that's basically says stealing's okay. That's what it boils down to. You know, you're basically voting for something as well that instills fear into people non-stop. You know, and that is, you know, essentially everything that comes along with like the government or the fictional control. You know, all those other things that come along with it. You know, the corporations and Hollywood and all that other stuff. That's all the same stuff. You know, that's all the same. And, you know, I'm guilty of it as well. You know, I'm on YouTube right now. You know, caught red-handed on YouTube, Dan. You are giving power to the fictional system right now. Yes, I am. By using YouTube. What I'm hoping, though, is that the exchange of energy here is somewhat balanced. You know, that somebody's finding, you know, there's going to be a positive, you know, the negativity that's YouTube in terms of handing over power to the fictional side of the system is somewhat balanced with people coming away with the 3 people that watch these videos coming away with some kind of, you know, even if it's just a tiny little nugget of truth, you're coming away with something, you know, that might help them. Anyway, you know, the whole. This is where we're headed right now. Is the voter fraud thing is probably what we're going to be looking at now for the next several months. Is this nonsense going on in the media? Well, do you know how crazy voter fraud even sounds? You know, if you think about it, if I'm running a race and it's a 2-horse race and I own both the horses in the race, I'm guaranteed a win. You know, I am the fictional system guaranteed a win because one of my horses can come in. I'm coming in first and second place. You know, I'm taking the gold and the silver. You know, and you know, ironically, that's what the system does. It takes the gold and the silver. It takes the wealth. But do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't even matter if it's the best president ever. You know, I don't care. You know, even if it was Gandhi up there. You know, you know, even if it's the best president ever, you're still voting for that fictional system. You're still voting for that control system. It's not that guy himself, that figurehead that's doing the controlling. It's the system that's doing the controlling. It's the system that you're voting for. This is why they never want people saying, just don't go and vote. If you don't agree with it, why vote for it? If you don't agree with something that it does, why would you vote for it? If it's doing something against natural law, if it's stealing from people, why would you vote for it? Why would you endorse that thing? Absolute craziness. Anyway, so this is the voter fraud thing. Now is going to be the next thing, even though the system already won. The voter fraud BS is what we're going to be listening. I'm sure is what we're going to be listening to. That's going to be the narrative now. And the fracturing of the country. This is what I think where we're headed. You already saw Brexit over in with England and Europe. I should say UK. And of course, even Scotland wanting to break, come out away from England, in the UK as well. All these little bits of countries now wanting to be back to independence, There's the Humpty Dumpty scenario, and, we've already seen the metaphor with, the metaphor, I don't know what you'd call it really, but the Humpty Trumpty sat on his wall over here, and now he's just fallen off of his wall, and he's going to be broken. Or is that an analogy? Is it a metaphor, analogy for the country now becoming broken? This whole thing with the Hoover Dam rebirth ritual that I've been going on about. We've discussed the penny. I think we've discussed the dollar bill as well, but we're referencing back to that individual unit of currency, and we're referencing back to the penny, and we're referencing back to Abraham Lincoln a hell of a lot, and this idea of the Civil War again, Abraham Lincoln being the Civil War president. Are we dealing with a fracturing of the United States, maybe? When you see these films that reference the Hoover Dam break-in, like Superman or San Andreas, or even the James Bond one with Zoran. The idea there is there's going to be an actual physical fracture along that fault line, and the country's going to be divided, and this is the idea of civil war. The country's going to be fractured and divided. This is what we're seeing if you look at the polling map. It looks very polarized. It looks, separated already, So is this the narrative that we're going to see over the next few years? Is this what they're going to play out? And a quick note, the fictional system, it imitates nature. So it also wants to work in cycles. That's how balance is brought about in a cycle. So, you have the history repeating itself, the idea of another civil war, the idea of like Europe being broken apart again. They tried to unite it in the past with royal families, and then it gets split apart again, and then they try to, and it's this constant cycle that we see in nature. We also see in the fiction. At every step of that, cycle, wealth is extracted. There's an opportunity to extract energy at every step of that cycle. If you were just to stagnate the thing and just stay in the same situation, people would cotton on after a while. They would be, they would get upset. But if you keep the thing constantly moving, there's an opportunity to remove wealth. You know, especially in times of rebuilding and, you know, after certain wars, you know, there's a huge amount of wealth generation for the rulers, you know, a huge amount of opportunity to extract energy on one level or another. So it's no surprise that they operate the fictional system in a cycle. And that's just what we're seeing now. You know, are we going to see another, I mean, if we see it, you've got to ask yourself, was the Civil War, the original Civil War, really as important or as or happened how they say it happened, if you know what I mean? Or was there just a bunch of people living in the country and just getting on with life as normal, and there was some stuff off to the side going on, but it didn't, did it really affect people that greatly? You have to start asking these questions, especially the way you see the media portray certain things happening in big cities and all the rest of this going on. What we'll probably end up having is a civil war on paper, and that's really what it all boils down to, is again fictional paper. But as for me going and fighting the guy down the road, I can't ever imagine that's ever going to happen. That is just complete pie in the sky fiction. But on paper, somebody will probably write down that it happened. But that, is that the narrative that we're going to see right now? I don't know. I don't know where they're going with all this stuff. But obviously, the idea of that system fracturing is also a reference to man fracturing the relationship that we have at the minute. Well, it's more like this kind of relationship. This is the fiction, and the man's in here, and are we going to see a fracturing of that eggshell that's over the man? Are we going to see a fracturing of the control over man with the fiction, or, a fracturing of a separation, again, of man and fiction, to a point where man can regain some balance in his life, who knows? But that's what I'd like to think that's what it's pointing at, it's pointing at a separation. And of course the Hoover Dam thing, the Hoover Dam rebirth ritual thing, would be a separation again from the fictional waters, of the dam, of the mother, the moon goddess, or whatever, however you want to look at it, Right, where are we at? 18 minutes. I think we're almost, I mean, I don't really want to make this video too long. What else did I want to touch on real quickly? Did I want to touch on dates? Let me just touch on a few dates for this. Let's kick back to the Hoover Dam thing, because at some point, I just got a strange feeling about it. At some point, it just seems too obvious to me, not to happen. I guess that's a way of looking at it. It's almost too perfect not to happen. So I picked out some dates and all the rest of it, and I've kind of come to the conclusion that it's almost impossible to pick out dates, and almost impossible to pick out certain years that things will happen in, just simply because there's so much reference within the system, so much cross-reference between these things, and there's a reason why there's so much cross-reference, and that is because everything's built on for want of a better term, a code, which is the golden ratio. I mean, it's just in everything, and so there's no doubt that when you start picking out numbers and certain numbers that interact with one another, that the interactions reflect the golden ratio. And then, you know, as soon as you start seeing that, then you know that, you know, because everything's built off of this ratio, everything fractally breaks back down to it, you know. So there's no way that you can't, you know, there's no way that, you know, one thing can't reference another. So, you know, like it's easy to pick out things for the 7-11 or 9/11, whatever you want to look at it. In hindsight, it's easy to pick all that stuff out. It's easy to cherry pick all that stuff out of reality, just simply because it's already there, you know, and it will always already be there because that's what reality's built off of. Is those is those numbers, and the same way, you know, with the next set of numbers, it's all built off the same stuff. Anyway, I don't know if I'm just waffling now, and I don't want to, you know, I'd really like to finish this in the next couple of minutes, but you know, tomorrow is a good example. The 18th of November, 1811 or 1118. That's right. You know, that diagram I did a couple of videos back, the Golden Key of Lorraine or whatever I called it. Those two numbers are right in the center there. But guess what? They are also 18 and 11 are also oh, blimmin' hell, what are they? They're sun-moon balancing numbers. You know, they show up in that relationship between the sun and the moon. You know, what we're really dealing with, you know, nature and the fiction. And so this is why these numbers always show up everywhere, you know, like the 33. Again, there's a ton of different meaning behind the 33, but again, it's another balance number between the sun and the moon. The 19, that's another balance point between the sun and the moon. Even 23. 2300 years is another balance point between the sun and the moon, you know. All these things reference back in on themselves, just through balance in nature, you know. That's why we see it so much, because it's referencing balance. Everything is built off of the golden ratio, and it references balance. I don't know how, you know, that's the way I'm looking at it anyway. And so, difficult to pick out dates and years and everything else. I will say this: Diana's death, I think, significant. You know, I think that's a significant ritual thing, and the you know, and the 33 is obviously another very significant, as is the 19 with the balance with the sun and the moon. So, of course, 2030 is about the only date that I can really pick out for something. And somewhere in between there is I think, is the Hoover Dam thing. Maybe that happens 2030. I don't know, you know. I mean, maybe that's when man is reborn and the Hoover Dam thing and the Golden Gate thing will be together on that date, you know, sometime in 2030. Maybe this year, 2020. Maybe tomorrow something happens, you know. And of course, even if something big doesn't happen, there will be, you know, it might even only be, say, Trump doing something, you know, to reference the thing. But you know that sometimes you see these little events that take place referencing the bigger event, you know. But you know, 2020, a balancing number. 2020 is 88 on the 24-hour clock, you know, 8 o'clock, 2020. So you've got the 88 reference from Back to the Future there. Yeah, I mean, it's just there's so much stuff that re-references other things. If you just look at circles and the clock face and all this other stuff, you'll start seeing that, oh, you know, like a 5 and an 11. Those are balancing points. If you look across the face of a clock, those two numbers balance each other, you know. There's a balancing effect there. You know, remember the 5th of November. It's a balance date. You know. What else to go on about? You know, but I'll tell you what. Let's end it on a. I don't like to say positive note, but let's not end it on a gripey note. Let's put it that way. This is what I'd like to see at the end of it all, anyway. It's something that, you know, if stuff does occur, is 2030. I think it'd be lovely to see the Golden Gate Bridge, instead of being destroyed or something else, let's paint that. It would be nice to see it painted gold, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be a nice ritual for a change? Instead of you know, the negative rituals that we see. Wouldn't that be a nice ritual to see? I watched a program on the Golden Gate. That was just a YouTube thing, and they were talking about how badly rusted it was and it needed to be painted and everything. And wouldn't that be nice to see that thing repainted? You know, that's the final destination. That's the thing you've got to get across. That's the thing that Marty comes across in the final Back to the Future. You know, that's the Golden Gate Bridge there that forms across the valley. You know, Clayton Ravine, or what is Eastwood Ravine in the end there. But that's the thing you've got to get across. And, you know, that Clint Eastwood character's the guy that you've got to become. You know, he's well known for playing that man, the righteous man. You know, the guy that he doesn't play by the fictional rules. He just does the right thing. You know, if you look at all his characters, that's essentially what he does. Well, most of his characters, he plays the role of the righteous man. So, yeah, that's, you know, the kind of character that, you know, that's why they reference it. I'm sure that's why they reference him so much in Back to the Future. You know, he's referenced in, I think, maybe all of the Back to the Futures. I don't know. But anyway, I got such a headache now. I've got to call it a day. But I'm putting it out there. Golden Gate Bridge, painted golden. Wouldn't that be lovely? And as for the Hoover Dam thing, hopefully they'll just blow the top off of it or whatever. Maybe nothing will happen. That'd be great. But I tell you what, it is interesting. I don't know if it's closed to visitors on the surface right now, but I know that all the visitor centres are shut down, I think, at the minute because of the Wu flu. So I don't know. They've got an excuse for having everybody out there, don't they? If they're doing, you know, packing it with explosives right now. I don't know. I don't know if, you know. Oh dear. Let's just call it a day like that. I'm just waffling now. I'm gone. You know, I'm done for. So anyway, I guess I'll catch you on the next one. Hope you enjoyed that. I didn't even get into the ridiculousness of the vaccine. All I can say about the vaccine is just imagine for a minute how ridiculous some of these truth people sound about going on about nanotechnology taking over your DNA, changing your DNA. I think I did a video on, and I know I did a video on, you know, even I did a video on genetically engineered crops. Whether they even genetically engineer, whether is it even possible to genetically engineer something the way we think that they genetically engineer something? You know, it's all about generating fear. You know, and then you've got to apply logic to the vaccine thing. All of a sudden, we've got a 90. I think even my mum said it was 94 now. They were claiming on it, 94% effective on something that they've, you know, if they even tested it. They couldn't even test for Wu flu a few months ago. Now They've almost cured something that was incurable before. The common cold and the flu. Oh, we can't get you can't get a vaccine for that because it just won't work. Because it's changing so much all the time. Yeah, it produces the same symptoms all the time, but it's changing. Oh, the ridiculousness of it all. The Denmark ridiculousness thing with the killing all the minks over there. My dad told me that one. And I was like, does any of this make sense to people? I can't believe people buy this stuff. I don't know, but maybe the whole purpose of Hollywood was to, was to was to generate enough fiction that people just took it for granted and just bought into it all the time. I don't know. Can you? If you don't have stories to begin with, do people buy into it? Do people buy into the nonsense? I don't know. Anyway, I gotta call it. My head's hurting and I'm just going round in circles with nonsense. But people, we've got to start just using common sense. We've really got to use common sense, and I just ask whether the story even makes sense. Anyway, bye.